starting to get a beautiful sunset over there, Mark.
I think we are going to have a beautiful
Hence
sunset.
the sunset sail.
We got to get the sunset gun ready. Well, we want actually.
So you just want the tree line, right?
It was a trick question.
All right. You little.
So we'll go for local apparent sunset, which will be when it goes below the tree.
Right, that's our horizon for our purposes. Isn't it? Couldn't order a more perfect day.
I'm sure we'll get a breeze that stays around, because a lot of times it comes and the breeze just goes away and we don't get this. It's really awesome.
I'm glad we didn't book it last night. So we got into town like yesterday. You know,
the time it started getting
yeah, it's like, yeah. And you obviously you don't go out. You can't sell your refund tickets and stuff like that.
We wouldn't have gone out last night.
Yeah.
Given everybody a refund.
Well, do you do it on? You don't do it on Thursday.
During the summer we do.
Oh, okay.
Now that we're past Labor Day, it's just Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But yeah, last night would have been no fun for me.
Yeah, no, not pleasant.
It would have been wet. We're calling it sunset. All right, we're calling it sunset. Are you ready? Get ready to plug your ears, guys. It's gonna be loud. I'm gonna run the hide over there. Fire in the hole. Yes. Do we get him? He kind of healed for a second after. So you guys know why we have the cannon, right? Not just because I'm a pyromaniac. Did Bernie tell you guys the story of the original fame? Okay. The reason why we have the cannon is because this boat is a replica of the boat, the Fame, that was built in 1810. Our Fame was built in 2003. The original Fame was built in 1810. Not in Salem, actually, but in Boston. The opposite way. About 10 miles down the road. She was built not to be a privateer, but for fishing. But a privateer is what she became. That's why we built a replica of the Fame. What happened 2 years after she was built, when the War of 1812 broke out, a bunch of Salem sea guys took this little cod fishing schooner, the Fame, and decided that since they were thrown out of work by the war, well, they were going to go privateer. They were going to engage in this licensed piracy against British vessels, which this has been true, from the Middle Ages right up into the American Civil War. That during wartime, anyone who owned a ship could go to the government and get a license to go out and behave like a pirate, right? As long as it was wartime, you had a license from the government, and you only captured ships that belonged to the country that your country was fighting. This was legal. But you notice you can only capture enemy ships if you have them. So when you capture an enemy ship, part of what your crew would go on board that ship, and they'd have to sail it back. Not necessarily to Salem, but to any friendly port. And they would go before a judge and prove that the ship they captured or the cargo they captured were enemy property. That's what made it legal. And then you got to auction off the ship and the cargo for whatever money you could get. That's how privateers made their money. Not like pirates, like plundering things at sea, opening chests and putting on wooden hats and walking the plank and drinking the rum. That's pirate stuff, right? Privateering was all legal, but you had to prove it. And that's why they had these little guns. The Fame had 6-pounders, which are like guns that are 5 feet long and fire little baseballs. But you don't want to use those because those are going to put holes in the ship. And you've got to sail it somewhere. So you don't want to put holes in that ship. And you don't want water to get into the ship and damage the cargo, which you're also going to sell, right? Wet cargo, not valuable. Ships with holes, not valuable, right? So what you want to do, the way you want to capture a ship if you're a privateer, is to use these small rail-mounted guns like shotguns. You get very, very close, you get 2 or 3 of these, and you use them, bam, 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 to make everybody in the other ship either lie down or surrender or go below or get a face full of whatever you're shooting at, musket balls or gravel or sand off the beach. And then you climb on board the vessel and capture by boarding, they call it, right? Not by a cannon battle, but by climbing on board the other ship. Subdue the crew, take over the ship, sail it back, sell the cargo. That's how privateers would make their money. So that's why they have these little guns. They're not toys. As you can see, if I filled that full of musket balls, would you want me firing at you? No, hell no, right? But it's a close-up weapon, and you got to get close to use it. So you need it. You don't want the black pearl. You remember the black pearl from the Pirates of the Caribbean?
Oh yeah, everybody knows.
Okay, bullshit history. If you're going to be a pirate or a privateer, what you really want is you want speed and maneuverability, right? Big vessels with lots of cannon, that's great for cannon battles, but I just explained to you why we don't necessarily want cannon battles, right? We want to get hit and run, we want to be maneuverable, we want to climb on board, capture the ship, and sail it back intact with its cargo. That's how we're going to get our dough.
So did the merchant ships not have guns on them?
They often were armed, but they often had small crews. So the way to make money as a merchant vessel, yeah, you got it, Nick? Okay. The way to make money in a merchant vessel is to keep your costs low, right? So you don't want to have 40 guys on board, as armed guards?
Right.
That's expensive. So what you want to do is sail in a convoy of other vessels protected by the Royal Navy.
Okay.
But if you're out there by yourself, you're vulnerable. You got to be careful.
Right.
So privateers would principally, you wouldn't sail with a lot of big cannon, you'd sail with a lot of guys. Because that was your advantage. Your advantage was numbers. You've got to have a bunch of guys who mean business. That's how you capture ships. Not through the size of your cannon.
Right.
That's not going to get you. That's not going to get you where you want.
And the merchant
Not
ships
the size of
were
the
slower than the type of ships
Merchant
like
ships
this?
were slow. They were not maneuverable. They tended not to have big crews. So if you've got a fast little schooner full of guys who mean business and a bunch of these little shotgun cannons, you're in business.
Okay. So the French ship, that was a merchant ship.
That was a merchant ship, and she would have been slow and cumbersome. And you know what? When the Park Service has had their shit together, they've sailed that boat. This schooner goes rings around.
Yeah.
Literally, rings around.
Right.
We could capture that ship 4 ways from sideways, and that's historically that's exactly the way it would have been.
Right. Okay.
Now, once you get out in the ocean and they set every sail they have, they're going to pull away from us. Getting close to the coast, that's where they're vulnerable, right? Because they're not as maneuverable, and it takes a long time to turn a boat like that. You know, and the crew are all busy.
Right.
You know? So the Fame actually, the way that they use this vessel, those 25 guys, they hugged the coast, went all the way up to British Canada, and they knew that if they ran into trouble with the Royal Navy, that they could run into the coast and get away because they're small, maneuverable, and shallow. And they tried to pounce on big ships as they were leaving the harbor.
Okay.
That was a strategy. And it worked.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have built a replica if we failed.
Right, exactly.
You know she was a successful privateer because we built a replica.
Yep.
Wouldn't that be funny if we built a replica? Oh yeah, she's a total flop. The Fame went out 12 times and captured 20 different vessels.
Okay.
Everyone get a chance to see the baby book before I put it away?
Yes.
It's our baby.